Here's how to make having hard conversations at work a lot easier. Guys, I'm Trevor Mauch, the CEO of Carrot.com. And over the years, as we've built our company up and we have over 50 full-time employees, one of the things I've learned is it's crazy important to start to create the environment of trust, of being able to have a conversation that might be difficult with another person, to be able to have kind of an agreement, a contract, rules of the game on how we have hard conversations. So we don't erode the trust, erode the culture. Instead, we build it up. Some of the problems you might be experiencing as a CEO of a company or an employee, you might be going through and really having, you avoid having the difficult conversations, right? You're stepping into it and going, man, I know Sally showed up at this meeting this way, or I know Johnny did this, but man, I don't want to hurt their feelings, right? I don't want to say something that might set them back. But I'm going to show you in this training why that's actually the exact thing you need to do to show that you care about them. Another problem that might be coming up is as we avoid those conversations, we avoid bringing this feedback or even could be criticism to another person, then the culture starts to erode, trust starts to erode. We don't mean it at first. We mean it usually for the betterment of that person, to out of respect for their feelings. But then as we let that go and that festers, trust starts to erode and we can't really work together as much. Frustration grows. You grow frustration, or that person grows it for you. We avoid getting on meetings together. We don't want to work on projects together, and everything starts to get slower. Decisions become slower, and neither one of us then are saying the hard things. Standards drop in our work. We then hold that person to a lower standard because we didn't have the hard conversation back here, or vice versa, and then complacency becomes the norm. So if you're feeling any of this in your business, I've felt the same thing, and we're always continually growing through it. In this short training, I'm going to introduce something to you called the clearing conversation model that I actually learned from the CEO of a company called Sales Loft. We were visiting Kyle Porter, who's the CEO of Sales Loft in Atlanta a number of years ago when our team was probably about 30 people. And when we were in their HQ at Atlanta, which they're now over $100 million a year business, we asked Kyle, how did you grow so fast? And what were some of the biggest challenges you guys encountered as you went from 10 million to 30, 50 million plus? And he said the biggest challenge is growing the leadership team and growing the trust among that team. And he said that they adopted this model I'm going to show you today. And when they did that, it gave them the ability to improve culture and results to scale quickly, to really create simple rules for hard conversations that we can all follow, so everyone's playing by the same rules, to overcome that fear of conflict. So trust is ultimately built, and we really start to build momentum as a team. All right, guys, so we're going to dive into the iPad, and I'm going to pull it up right here. Here's a clearing conversation. And where we are right now, if you follow me at all in any of our content at Carrot or on my YouTube channel here, hit subscribe. I have a model I call the Entrepreneur Freedom Formula. And in that formula, we focus on building a business of freedom and impact. And there's three core parts: purpose, consistent profits, and then the energy and time. Where we're focusing today is really unleashing these bottom two. Okay, really working with our team more effectively and gaining even more consistency. Years ago, I read a book called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. Now, this book is an amazing book. If you have a team of, let's say, 3, 5, or above, you definitely should get this, especially if you have 10 employees or more, or you are an employee in a company with 10 or more employees. Get the book. At the very base level, what we're focusing on as a company is we're trying to drive some sort of results. We're trying to drive an outcome, right? And what we oftentimes do when we don't have that outcome happen in the business is we immediately usually go to the person or the people or that team that we think is responsible for that, right? We go down to them because we think that they have accountability. Let's find out why things aren't working. And then it goes down into these other conversations. Now, if we approach it from the wrong angle, those conversations can spiral out of control. They can create a lack of trust. And it really, at the end of the day, is actually all rooted in trust at the bottom of this pyramid that they talk about in the book. And so in this model, we're going to show you how, when you have hard conversations the easy way, using the clearing model, it actually builds trust. It actually makes it so we can feel comfortable to have hard conversations and the fear of conflict goes away. And that's what we're really about, is how do we remove the fear of conflict in our companies as the CEO or as a team member and really build that trust? Well, it's using a model like this. After I came back home from that Atlanta session with Kyle and the other the SaaS CEOs I was with, I pulled back and said, how can we execute this in our own business? Like I said, at that time, we were 20, 30 employees. And I started to make a model of it. And I said, if what we're really after in the middle is trust and growth, what are the things that are important around creating trust and growth in our businesses? Right. The first thing is we have to make sure that we're communicating early and often. We want to make sure that feedback clearly shows that we care about the person. It's not that we're bringing criticism. We care about that person. We want to make sure that we know that person has goals and they want to go a certain way. And we know that they don't want to show up in this way, but we recognize that they are, and we care about them so much that we want to help them grow through this opportunity, or vice versa, that they care about us so much that they're willing to step into what can be awkward or difficult conversations to be able to help us grow through that thing that's holding us back or holding the company back. The second part is we want to be vulnerable and curious. It's really important as we go to remove the dynamic of defensiveness. That's one of the biggest things that we'll all experience, or people may have experienced with you. I know people have with me in the past, where they'll be like, oh, shoot, I don't want to bring this person this thing because I don't want them to get defensive. Or one time I said this thing and then they said this thing this way and it felt like they were getting defensive. And man, I don't want to bring that again. And we've all probably fell into that trap of immediately when someone gives us a piece of feedback, we like tighten up inside and go, oh my gosh, I don't think we did that. Now take that feeling, that tightening up in the gut when someone brings you a piece of feedback, maybe as a little bit of a clue to be vulnerable and curious, to say, maybe there's some truth here and maybe I have something to learn. All right, and then once you get that feedback, take action and adjust, right? So what we're going to do is I'm going to walk you through a couple quick things in this video. Now, I go into this in depth in our Epic program at Carrot. We have several dozen of our highest level clients who want to grow from 300,000 to a million to 3 and 3 to 10 and so on. And we go into this in depth. I'm going to give you the high level version of this, but go check out carrot.com/epic. carrot.com/epic if you're in the real estate industry and you want to dive into that program. But right here, the first thing is we need to make sure that there's a documented process. Okay, we can't have you going into this model or this scenario knowing that there's a model called the clearing model. You know it, you're beefed up on it because you watched this video, but the rest of your team doesn't know. Okay, so we have to bring this to the team and say, hey, y'all, as we're growing, we're going to inevitably run into challenges in communication. We're going to run into spots where we don't know how to bring feedback, where we're nervous to bring this feedback, but that feedback is what's going to help us get to the next level. And what I want to do is I want to put in kind of some rails into the company, some rails that help us, give us a little bit of rules of engagement for how we can increase the velocity of our candid feedback, but do it in a way that's empowering, that builds trust. You guys all cool with this? Okay, cool. So this video can even be a part of it. So document that, put that in, make sure that show them the rules. I'm going to show you the rules here in a second. Okay. Number 2 is now we need to train it to the team. Everyone needs to be aware of this is the way that we now bring feedback as an organization. It is the culture. And here's how to do it. Okay. And this video can be part of that training too. Just link this up in your playbook area if you want to. Number 3, then you as the leader or you as a person bringing this, you need to commit. Really commit that this is something you care about, that this is something you're going to lead in. And I want you to go first. I want you to have a go first attitude, that when you notice something on a meeting or when you notice yourself showing up a certain way or someone else a certain way, say, okay, this isn't something that I should hold back. I want to step into it in a healthy way, but I want to go first and start to create that environment of building trust with the person. Okay. And then last, celebrate the wins. Celebrate when someone brings something to you and you grow because of that. Thank them for it, or vice versa. If you bring something to them and they worked on it, you see them improving, celebrate those wins with them. Okay. So what the clearing model is, and you can probably Google this, we did not make this up. I'm just relaying an amazing model that we've used. We've modified it and kind of made it our own a little bit. It's 3 different things. First of all, there's the agreement. Okay, there's the agreement up here that everybody involved needs to really be clear. I like to take this worksheet and literally have it up on the Zoom call, or print it out if it's in person. Say, hey, I just want to get this in front of us again so we can make sure to get our minds in the right spot as we're having this hard combo. That way we can really make the most of this conversation, make it really impactful. And, I commit to curiosity and letting go of being right. Okay, I understand that I have a role in this. I want to make sure that you know that. I commit to taking 100% responsibility for the issue on my part on it. And I also commit to creating a win-win resolution with this. Everybody should agree to that, right? But then the first thing is the person who is the giver. I'm going to walk through really quickly the giver and the receiver, because they're both distinct, important roles in this process with the clearing model, okay? The giver should reach out to the person who they feel aggrieved by, or the person who they have a challenge with. It could be a Slack message, it could be a text message, it could be walking in the office, it could be something, but you need to take that first move. And it could be a Slack message as simple as, hey, Mark, I've been thinking about this since our meeting yesterday, and there was something that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, but I might be misreading it, but I keep on thinking about it, and I don't want to have it get in the way of the project we're working on together. Would you be cool if we hop on a clearing conversation today or tomorrow? Just kind of chat with you about it and see if it's something you notice too. Okay, you can see how I brought it up in a healthy way. I'm not accusatory, I'm not making judgments, but I am saying this came up. I want to chat with you about it and see if there's any truth to how I'm feeling about it. Okay, so you hop on the call or you hop on the meeting together, and that giver is going to remove judgment. Okay, it's not your job as the giver of the feedback to have judgment. That's where people go wrong, is they bring judgment into these conversations, and that judgment is oftentimes received with defensiveness. The defensiveness gets picked up by the other person as an issue. Now, lack of trust breeds. You leave the meeting, no resolution. There's even less trust now after that meeting, after that conversation than before. So judgment has to go away, okay? So we need to bring the challenge, bring the thing that came up that's kind of bugging us. Here's the thing I experienced, Mark. We were on that meeting, and we were going through the conversation, moving to a decision, but right there when we were moving to that decision, you said this, and the way I picked it up as X. I picked it up as you didn't have confidence in that decision we were making, even though we talked about it for the half an hour before then. It seemed like you were aligned. And then we finished, and we did make the decision, but it doesn't feel like you're fully on board. And I just want to kind of see if I'm reading that wrong or what that is. But the way that it made me feel, because when we asked at the end of the meeting if everyone was on board with it, and everyone said yes, and you kind of delayed at the end, it made me feel like we were just going through the motions, and that maybe you were holding something back. And it made me kind of feel like I didn't lead that meeting well, or there's something there. I don't really know how to read it. Okay. But the story I'm telling myself is that you're not aligned on it for some reason, that maybe things weren't as clear on the meeting as I thought we were communicating, and we might have a difficult time making sure that we're all moving together because it feels like there's not alignment. That's the story I'm telling myself. Okay. Now, my role in this is when I notice that I probably should have said something. That's on me. I want to get better at that. I should have shot you a Slack message, or maybe before the call. I recognize I probably could have dove in with you to run this idea by it even deeper before the call. And that's something I recognize I play a real role in this. So I'm going to get better there. But what I'd love to see, right? What I'd love to see is if there's, number one, I'd love to see, is there alignment here in this situation? But if I am picking this up right, I'd love to see you reach out to me, maybe a Slack message or text, or knock on the door before that meeting or after, or whatever it is, or even if you feel that you can, you call it out in the meeting, just say, hey, I can support this, but I don't fully align with it. And I'd love to kind of see how I can get fully on board with it. Are you guys game for that? Just like bring that to us and we can work through it together. Now, the receiver's job is to listen while the person's bringing that. Okay, the receiver's job, they should not be responding. They should not be interacting. Verbal or body language that shows that there's a reaction. Just accept. Just bring it. Let it soak it in. Your job is to listen. Okay, and so now when the person's done, now my job is to just kind of repeat back what they said. So I'm clear that we're working on the same challenge together. Okay, so what I hear you saying, John, is this. Okay, I showed up this way. I hear you saying that you're not clear if I'm fully on board, and the way that I asked that question might not have indicated well what it was. Is this? Am I right in this? Is there anything else that's jumping out to you that would help us clear this issue? No, we're good. Okay, cool. You know what? I really do accept that, because when that did get brought up, I felt like what I was saying earlier in the meeting didn't really get taken into context and in the decision. I felt like I wasn't listened to. And because that happened in this meeting, the previous one before, I just kind of honestly gave up and said, I'm just going to go with it. Now, my role in that is I shouldn't have done that, because I know that continues to put me in that environment. And that's not something any of us want us to be in. But I do accept that I did that. But here's why. Now, you can explain why if there's real context that can help come to resolution, but don't get defensive here. Now, you have a chance to accept it or not as a receiver. If it's completely false, you can say, no, Mark, I can see how you would interpret the way I did it that way, but honestly, I'm fully on board. I want to be able to make sure that I'm communicating a better way next time, so we all know that I'm on board. How can I get better at that? Okay, but I am on board. I'm sorry that it looked like I wasn't. Okay, and then down here, appreciate them, because that takes guts for someone to bring a hard conversation to you. Man, John, I appreciate you for coming to me with this, because it does take guts. I recognize how hard it is to reach out for something like this. Hopefully, this interaction built confidence. You can just do it again and again, and we can just make that the way that we work. But thank you for bringing this to me, and it did highlight a way that I can get better. Okay, and then the next action step right here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that, number one, when I'm communicating, I'm going to make sure that you guys know I'm fully on board, or I'm really clear with you that there's some parts where I'm not on board with that we need to still work through. Okay, and also, I want to make sure that I am communicating with you more effectively too, in a big way. So figure out how you can finish that with an action item, but there's something for everybody to learn here. Okay, so now the high level principles, guys, I'm going to run through them again, is number one, our aim with this is to create a culture of trust around the company. Trust breeds removing fear of conflict. Fear of conflict helps us to step into commitment. When we commit to things well, we have better accountability. When we nail accountability, we hit the results we want to hit. Okay, number two is communicate the goal. We want to make sure to communicate to the company why we're putting this structure in place, so we can move together well, build trust together well, and move towards our goals in a more efficient way. Then we need to define the rules. Here's the training, here's the rules we're going to operate. Everyone has access to these, and when we hop on these calls, here's how to ask for one well, and here's how to play your role in it. Define those rules. If people are playing by different rules, it's not going to work. Go first, use the go first mentality, embody that openness yourself so others feel confidence as well. And last, celebrate that success, guys. When you see that person changing or getting better or vice versa, celebrate it. Hey, Mark, remember when we had that convo last month? I'm really proud because I've seen you change the way that you've been showing up here. It's really, really cool, man. Keep it up, okay? So celebrate those successes. All right, guys, so that's how you make having hard conversations easy. You create a model around the clearing model, a framework, you step into it. And I want to see you really executing this and implementing this in your own businesses as the CEO or operator of the company, or as an employee. Bring this if you feel that the company needs this, okay? So guys, go have that difficult conversation this week. Bring this structure into your business. Create a better environment of building trust together. You guys are going to be unstoppable as you build that business of freedom and impact. Head over to trevormauch.com, mauch.com, join my newsletter and get the other resources, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm going to be putting a lot more videos out like this, bringing things from our 8-figure company into your business so you can amplify your impact and grow your freedom as an entrepreneur.